Welcome to the First Time Facilitator podcast. Whether you're a first-time facilitator or a seasoned pro, listen in for tips and tricks to make a bigger impact at the next workshop you deliver. And now, your host, this week to last week working in corporate, Leanne Hughes.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to episode 51 of the First Time Facilitator podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Hughes, and I'm here to help you develop and deliver workshops that kill. I'm back in the host seat after being a guest on my own show last week. And on an aside, thank you again, Sean Lavin, for the questions. What a host. And thanks as well to all of you who have contacted me, wishing me all the best for life, or for my new life as a solopreneur. So yeah, this is my last week in corporate and I have mixed emotions. I'm really excited about the future, excited about not having to show up to sometimes pointless meetings, but definitely sad to say goodbye to some pretty amazing people. Enough about me, let's talk about today's guest. Now, I've brought him on the show because he is wildly passionate about PowerPoint. Now, you don't really hear those two words in the same sentence often, passion and PowerPoint. And that's what makes him a great person to talk to. His name is Thomas Krafft, and he's a presentation strategy guy and PowerPoint wizard. I also like to call him Mr. Toastmaster. Thomas is a speaker, an MC, and co-founder of Presentation Boss, a presentation skills coaching business. Now, he spent countless hours specializing in effective design and use of PowerPoint. He needs no excuse to share his passion around the software, and he champions its proper use to enhance your next presentation. He also knows that in every poor presentation is a brilliant presentation, whether it's a talk, a keynote, or a facilitated workshop. Thomas also came along to the 50th First Time Facilitator episode celebrations the other week. I can honestly say he's a really funny guy. Not only a great storyteller on the stage, but a great storyteller over a beer as well. I know that I was in fits of laughter. Thomas has also offered an incredible resource for first-time facilitator listeners. So if you hop on over to the show notes for this episode at firsttimefacilitator.com/episode 51, you can grab a copy of his worksheet, PowerPoint Tips Every Facilitator Needs to Know. What a great offer for listeners. So I encourage you to head on over there and download the worksheet. If you'd like to connect with the show when the episode is over, you can join our free Facebook community called The Flipchart, or hop onto firsttimefacilitator.com and sign up for the Flipchart email newsletter there. Okay, now onto the show. Welcome to the First Time Facilitator podcast, Thomas Krafft.
G'day, how you going?
Very well. It's great to have you on the show. I hear you've been a long time listener.
A long time now, yeah. Yeah, some months.
I love how the show can bring everyone together. Thomas, I always start the show by just finding out a bit about you and what kind of career pivots brought you to the role that you're in with Presentation Boss.
With Presentation Boss, yeah. So where we've landed now is Presentation Boss provides public speaking and communication training through workshops and one-on-one consultation. So what led us here was, in my teenage years, I spent a lot of time instructing in the Air Force cadets. So the fear of public speaking was never really a thing for me, and I just learned to love it. And then when I turned 18, I started doing public speaking all the time as a hobby. I was doing it by night and loved it, and really developed quite a passion for it. At the time, I was studying to be a pilot, like a civil pilot, flying aircraft around, which was great fun and enjoyed it. But it sort of got to the point where I realised it was not the career for me, and I was loving the public speaking so much more. It was about that time that I met Kate, who is now my business partner. So at the time, she was a data analyst for a large company, and she at the time was competing in what's called the World Championship of Public Speaking, which it's a thing. And I really liked what she was doing. And I said to her, look, I'm going to mentor you through this process and see how far we can get. We got to one of the Australian finals, and we didn't get the free trip to Vancouver.
Bummer.
Yeah. But at the end of that process, we sort of realised that we had something to give. We both had a strong, deep passion and curiosity for public speaking. And we realised that we had something to give. And we both believe that there's sort of nothing that's as sad as people, as experts and specialists who have great ideas and thoughts and ideas that need sharing and can't because they can't communicate. And so, we had a curiosity and a passion that just sort of leads into more research and doing and more passion, and you get caught in that cycle. My particular interest was always PowerPoint, seeing poor PowerPoints and thinking, surely this can be done better. And so that's where I have really specialised in my training, is curiosity and passion in PowerPoint, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of researching and doing and designing and having fun with that.
I couldn't agree more with that. A PowerPoint does need that attention.
Yeah.
I want to quickly draw back, because I'm sure listeners are thinking about this. And what did your family and friends say when you said, look, I'm going to give up the aviation profession and I'm going to focus on the public speaking side of things?
I think I'm quite fortunate. Family and friends are pretty understanding, pretty liberal type people, and so just give it a bit of a nod and hope for the best for you. I mean, that's kind of the ideal with family, right? They just want you to do what you love. And I love what I do. I love public speaking. I always had. And it was probably more of a moment of clarity for me about why am I messing around doing stuff I don't enjoy doing, like bits of jobs and flying and whatever it was, when I could be making money doing what I love.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about PowerPoint, because I know that you're completely into this. You said you spent hundreds of hours researching PowerPoint.
Yeah.
What are you noticing that people aren't doing effectively with their PowerPoint slides? So just let's talk a middle manager in a government sector. What are you seeing? So
I think at the moment it's becoming more and more in fashion to hate PowerPoint. Because of that exact reason, we see what people do. Everybody knows what death by PowerPoint is. And it's becoming such this like in-fashion thing to just hate PowerPoint. And when we see a PowerPoint, it's obviously going to be bad. And there's going to be a terrible presentation, an awful meeting, and we immediately switch off, right? And that's the definition of death by PowerPoint, which is putting way too much information on slides and using the software incorrectly. Death by PowerPoint is a user error. It's not the software's problem. It's doing exactly what it's told to do. And so I like to think of it as you wouldn't blame Toyota for bad drivers. They just make the cars. And buying a Porsche doesn't make you a better driver. Being a better driver makes you a better driver, right?
But Volvo's the exception to that.
You drive a Volvo?
No. They're just terrible drivers.
That's true, especially if they wear a hat. It's the perception.
Anyway, I digress.
So to me, PowerPoint is PowerPoint is designed as a visual tool. That's what it is. So if I get you to think about the word peacock, what comes to mind?
The colour blue, a blue peacock.
Yeah, right. You don't see the letters P-E-A-C-O-C-K. You see, the male peacock, his plumage all spread out. That's what PowerPoint's for. We are visual creatures, and PowerPoint is a visual tool. So to answer the question, what are people doing wrong with PowerPoint? Or what should they do? What should they do with PowerPoint? And that is to show us what you can't tell us. You can say words, right? We stand in front of your audience, facilitating or doing a workshop or giving training, and you can say words all day, every day. So the joy of the human brain is when we take in language, whether it's spoken or whether you're reading it, it's actually processed by the same part of your brain. And it's incapable of taking information in two different ways. It's actually called the redundancy effect, which is if you take in the same information in two forms, what you will remember is effectively nothing. So that's what your audience will remember. If they're there reading slides while you're speaking that same information, what's the point? And especially if you think about why are we giving them text when we're standing in front of somebody? You can go and read a Word document later on. When you're facilitating and speaking, I always think that your audience can do one of two things, and that is they can watch you and listen to you and engage with you, or they can look at your slides. So the slides need to complement what it is that you're saying. They need to make your communication more efficient.
Yeah, and I think with the slides and what I agree with you, that people are relying way too much on words. And sometimes I think it's because they haven't actually prepared so much. So they're stepping up and they think, these words aren't for my audience. These words are for me because I'm going to forget the content. So what's the solution to that? Obviously, I mean, we both agree in preparing. I know that we spoke, we've met up before and we're passionate believers in preparation.
Yeah.
How do you challenge that? Like, what do you say to people when you're in a workshop or coaching leaders on this?
Yeah, so with preparation with PowerPoint, I think it's really easy, and that is your slides, yes, as you say, are for the audience, they're not for you. If you need notes, take notes. Or, rehearse to the point where you know your content, what it is you need to say and when. But when designing PowerPoint, what I do and what I recommend everybody does is when you're designing those slides and reviewing the slides and rehearsing, ask yourself all the time, what can I remove from this slide and it still makes sense in the context of my presentation? Spoiler alert, it's often words, but ask yourself that question, what can I remove? What can I remove?
It's kind of like when you pack for an overseas trip and they always say, pack your bag and then remove like 40%. Like if you don't need 5 sets of pants, is it kind of the same? Let's play with the analogy.
Keep your pants on when you're facilitating. Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly that. It's a visual tool. Show them what you can't tell them.
So do you have like a secret sequence or structure or template that you think that works every time, or are there particular colours that are more effective in terms of imagery, shapes? What's your approach to designing?
There's certainly no one-size-fits-all. When you are visual, it does need to be things like images or infographics or like your visual models that you may have in your business, showing things like that need to be seen. As far as your colours and the design, really, as long as it's not distracting, because everything that happens on a stage is either attracting or detracting. So it needs to not detract from your presentation and distract from what it is that you're saying.
Perfect. And in your experience, because you talked about this public speaking workshop and you've got lots of experience delivering speeches and presentations. Can you reflect back? Is there like a favourite speech that you've given or a favourite slide pack that just made such an impact and it's one of your favourites that you want to share with our listeners?
I have an individual slide that I gave, and it was a moment with my business partner, Kate. So I gave an Ignite talk that was about the single boat that dredged the Brisbane River. And all the mud that it picked up out of the river, it put on this sandbank, which became an island, right? So it built an island in Brisbane back in the...
Look, I'm getting a history lesson too. We all are.
This happens. And I couldn't explain to Kate where this island was. And when I built the slide deck, I found this image, and the island happened to become what is now the Port of Brisbane. So you will know all those cranes that look like giraffes. And so in this talk, it just had this slide that this island became the Port of Brisbane. There's the picture of the giraffes, and everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. It removed minutes from a presentation if I was just speaking it. But people could see and go, yes, I know exactly where he's talking about. And that's some fascinating history that sits under that loading dock.
So, I mean, just drawing on that, you do love your history. Is it an aim or is it something that your style is to include history into your presentations? Is that something that you kind of focus on or bringing your two interests together?
I certainly don't need an excuse to talk about local history. I enjoy giving, whether it's me giving a speech or a keynote or something, I love talking about it for sure. And that's why I chose to do that for an Ignite talk.
Fantastic. And so you got a business partner, Kate.
Kate, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you both work in terms of co-facilitating workshops? I know that you've got two different areas of expertise. How does that play in with one another?
So it's a little bit interesting. So we tend to talk about what it is we had to learn. So I'm a giant introvert. So I had to learn how to do the mechanics of presentation, so delivery and what happens on stage and PowerPoint. Whereas she's a giant extrovert and had to learn things like preparation and calmness and the planning and the crafting of messages. So that's generally the split we have. I do a lot of the design and visual sort of things, of course, with the PowerPoint realm, and she does a lot of the, as an ex-data analyst, a lot of the presenting technical information. So that's generally how we split a workshop. So she will take the section which is all about preparation and planning, and I'll jump up and talk about how to do things like delivery and body language and those type of things. So we basically just tag team.
And play to each other's strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's really good, like sometimes, you draw a mental blank in a workshop. I'm sure everybody does it. And sometimes if you get really lost, they can just jump in there and there's somebody else looking at the clock, what's going on and those type of things. So you get to really engage with your audience and really lose yourself in that content.
Yeah, I really like it as well as just even being an audience member when there's two facilitators up there. It's nice to have a fresh bit of energy every now and then. So like the second person injects something and it's not that a solo person can be repetitive, but it's difficult to retain engagement all day with the same kind of energy that you provide as one person. So it is nice to have that dynamic.
And it's absolutely different. People connect with different people. So like as a male, a woman, I'm single, she's got a young family, she's got that corporate background, I have an aviation background. So people just connect differently with different people, and that's beneficial.
Let's talk about the visuals that you do create for PowerPoint. Do you create them in PowerPoint, or do you use other tools, graphic design software? How do you create your images?
Basically, I'm a big one for just designing in PowerPoint. I too, probably like most first-time facilitators, do not have a graphics design degree or Adobe Creative Cloud or whatever it might be. So I'm entirely in PowerPoint. It's just, this comes back to what can I remove? So basically, go simple. Most of my slides are one of probably two things, and that is a heading or a bookmark, a couple of words, keywords that bookmark where we are in the presentation on either a black background or a relevant image that's sort of dulled back a little bit so it's not distracting, that's bled across the whole screen. That's generally the two ways I would go about it, but just super simple. Again, this is what can't I tell them? What have I got to show them?
Yeah, I really like that approach. Very simple, but
yeah.
I remember listening to another podcast. I can't even remember who it was with, but they were talking about, so Seth Godin, the big marketing guru, he was one of the first people to bring in these really simple slides I don't know how long ago. It was quite a few years ago, but it's just drip-fed around the world now. And so it's really nice to see. And hopefully that changes the perception, this whole death by PowerPoint, if we can bring that back.
Yeah, and it just takes less time. I'm putting less stuff on.
That's true.
Yeah.
Simplicity is hard sometimes.
Yeah. Just find the inner minimalist and make it do.
Especially, I guess, when a lot of people, they've got to develop a workshop. So instead of sort of getting out a whiteboard and mind mapping what it is, a lot of people just, and I'm guilty of this of sometimes, I'll just start straight into PowerPoint and just start writing it out.
PowerPoint's a valid tool to do that with, to do your mind mapping. You can sort of chunk out your sections of the workshop. But I always say, whatever the presentation is, be it workshop or a main stage presentation or a meeting at work, is that the slides come after the script. So you're going to outline what it is that we're going to talk about. And you'll get to that point where you go, I have to show the audience this. I have to show them because I can't tell them. And that's where your PowerPoint fills in the gaps.
Nice. It's like a prop. It's like another prop, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a visual aid.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you talked about your partnership and how you're the person that works on the body language and the delivery methods. I'm really fascinated at the moment in morning routines and preparation. You said that you're an introvert as well. So does it take any more sort of energy for you to get up on stage, or how do you prepare for a big speaking engagement or a workshop?
On the day, I'm very much not a morning person. Very much not a morning person.
Really?
Yeah.
I love mornings.
Oh, you're the worst type of person.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. I make sure I eat. I make sure I have coffee, which just gets the metabolism going. I don't struggle getting excited to get onto stage. It's sort of quite inherent for me. I think people who like public speaking, we love getting up and getting to speak to people and engage with people and share our ideas. And to me, communication is all about the art of taking an idea that's inside my head and transferring it inside your head. And I love being able to do that, and especially when you're helping people to do something. So I do a little bit of vocal warm-up, but as far as an introvert, not really. Probably the same as most introverts. I'll have a big day of doing workshops or speaking, whatever it is, and I just have to make sure that I have a day or two afterwards where I sit in the dark and do my own thing, and it's that recharge alone time.
Oh, yeah. I think that applies to not only introverts but extroverts too. I think it's just a human thing. It's exhausting.
Yeah, you've got to
pack all that energy in.
You've got to refine that energy somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So afterwards, you need to recharge. You don't get nervous stepping up?
No, because I think I'm the sort of perfect mix of confident, cocky, and stupid. Do I feel nervous? Yes, but it's a physiological response that we add a meaning to, right? Like you feel the butterflies or the sweaty palms, and you give that a meaning. So I always like to say that I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I'm excited to get up and speak. Because I don't believe you should be speaking about anything or training about anything unless you're excited to do it. If it's worth speaking about, it's worth being excited about. So do I feel nervous? Probably, but I just think of it as excitement.
In your workshops, To break up the energy, you mentioned in one of our previous conversations that you have a Spotify playlist as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit through that? What kind of songs you have on there? Why do you think it's worthwhile?
If you think about like anywhere you go, like in a shopping centre or a lift, there's always background music, like sound design is a big thing. When you walk into a workshop or a room or a space and it's quiet, it's really hard to start the conversations because nobody wants to be overheard and it's always really quiet. So all we did was we just started playing music. I don't think it's probably super important what that music is. Whatever the theme of your event is, maybe have a crack at it and just have some background noise that people start to talk, it builds a little bit of energy and that type of thing. Our playlist is all upbeat, energy building stuff just because that's what we want to go for. We want to get people, you walk into a corporate environment, you want to get people a little bit excited, energy built a little bit, relax that little bit. So we just whack on a Spotify playlist that we've chucked a few songs in.
Fantastic. I think we had a conference I ran with work last year and one of the themes was simplicity. And so we're brainstorming what kind of songs can we put on this simplicity playlist? And I think we only got to Simply Red songs and then Simply the Best. I'm like, all right, we need to broaden this. And then we started thinking, well, what's the age range of the people in this room? And we're like, well, they're between the ages of 40 and 55. So let's go back a couple of decades. Not to stereotype, I'm sure they love modern music. But it was a really cool, like you said, upbeat playlist that had a mix of genres and obviously clean, which you can see in Spotify too.
Yeah, totally.
Which helps.
And really, classic's the best.
Classic.
You go for the 90s and the 80s. And
I thought you say classical
find me
music.
somebody who won't get excited by Spice Girls.
What do you think, for first-time facilitators listening into this, what do you think are some key skills for them to develop to become very confident in the role as a facilitator?
I think the key skill, the most important thing whenever you're addressing any audience is to know the audience. Is to know the big questions that you need to answer at the start of preparing a presentation is what is it I need my audience to know and what do I want them to do? So if you can answer those two questions, and that's going to form the basis for everything that you put together in what it is that you're going to deliver. So knowing exactly what you expect of your audience.
That's really powerful. Have you seen that play out? Could you give us an example of that playing out in one of your workshops?
So if we look at the Engage workshop that we do, which is just the 5 key areas of public speaking, what we want people to know is what are the steps they need to take to communicate better. And sometimes that's, in their meeting presentations or team debriefs or project updates or whatever it might be. What do we want them to do? Well, that's really clear. So I've done training in other organisations as well. And you can't just give people the tools and the strategies around the information that you present. You actually need to give them the strategies to think and to do. So as well as inform, you want to inspire. So I always have the goal of people leaving the room is to think about what we spoke about today and try it. Because it's really easy. I'm sure you've been in workshops where you're like, oh, this is great fun. I'm learning all sorts of wonderful stuff. You walk out the door, get in the car, and that's the last you ever think about it.
Yes.
Right? So you want to encourage people to just think about what it is and try. So think about the strategies that we've talked about today and give them a go. Now, maybe not every vocal warm-up and preparation technique and PowerPoint design tip will work for you, but just give it a go and try. Have the courage to try.
Fantastic. When you are running these presentation workshops, and you might be working with people that aren't very confident at public speaking, do you notice any sort of transformations in the workshop environment where they've actually they've improved one thing that's really changed their performance style? Or what are some examples of transformations that you've seen as part of running these workshops, something that you're so passionate about?
One of the things with public speaking and presenting is you can jump on Google and there is so much information. There is so much information and these websites disagree with these websites and that blog is different to those articles and there's so much information and where do you even start, right? And so the joy of a workshop is you go and you listen to an expert in the topic on whatever your topic is. And they have all these tips and strategies and techniques that you can use. Now, it might only be one way, but it's a way that works. I don't care how many ways there are to bake a cake. I just want to bake a cake. And so it's the same with public speaking. You have somebody come in and we give them the tips and techniques that have worked for us and worked for others and that have served us well for both Kate and I for over 10 years now. And then they can walk away and present with confidence. So we have people that have left some of our workshops and are going to pitch their business in, a networking area, and watching them present with confidence around what it is that they want to say. They know exactly what they want to say. They're confident about it. And they have confidence in not just themselves and their business, but how they believe now that they can serve others and can actually communicate that effectively. And so that's pretty priceless, I think.
It is. And congratulations on doing the job that you're doing, because I think it's such an important skill. To differentiate yourself, to sell your ideas, you need to be able to communicate effectively.
Absolutely.
It's still, because we all know it's important, but people are really scared of it. Why do you think there's so much fear around it?
Again, you can jump online, you can see so many great speakers, world of TED and however many YouTube billions of hours there are, you can see so much great speaking. And I think there's a bit of pressure to do that well. The first time I walk on stage, I'm going to be Tony Robbins, right? Or I'm going to be brilliant. I'm not going to feel nervous, because they clearly don't feel nervousness, because how I think they look, that's obviously how they feel, even though they're probably equally as terrified and nervous. So I think there's huge pressure to be somebody else or to do brilliantly. And confidence in any skill, be it public speaking or driving or sword fighting, comes with...
Never heard that example before.
comes with practice and trying it and giving it a go, and realising that you can be yourself and that your ideas are valid and that people actually want to listen to you. It's like you've never probably gone to a workshop and sat up the back of the room and thought, I hope this facilitator really screws up. You never think that. Nobody thinks that, right? You're sitting there thinking, I want them to do really well because I want their information and their message and their knowledge. I want to hear that. And that's what your audience is thinking. They're not there to judge you. They're looking for the reasons to love you, not the reasons to be distracted and hate the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I always tell people that actually the audience is on your side.
Absolutely.
Everyone wants you to succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the future direction of your business, Presentation Boss. What are you up to in 2019?
2019, so we're looking at doing a lot of workshops as well. We like doing corporate workshops, of course. We do a bunch of consultation as well. So small business owners or anybody trying to pitch something or communicate something or start something, we work with them. And then this year we're looking at really heavily at doing some online courses, some free and paid online courses that we can just share so much more information with so many more people in their own time. You don't have to come to a workshop. You can sit at home in your underwear and do it.
That's great, because we've got listeners from all around the world that tune in. And so that's great to hear that you're going to be going online and really spreading your message that way. If people want to connect with you further, with you and Kate, what's the best way to do that?
Best way is we're both on LinkedIn, so Thomas Krafft and Kate Norris on LinkedIn, or you can follow us at Presentation Boss on Facebook, or our website, presentationboss.com.au.
Awesome. And we will have a link to all of those resources in the show notes for this episode. Thomas, it's been wonderful getting to meet you through the show. That's what I love doing the show, because you just get to meet wonderful people, talk to people that are super passionate about different areas of facilitation and just rocking it. So thank you so much for your time, and all the best for 2019.
Cheers. Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks so much for tuning in to First Time Facilitator. If you liked the episode, please share it with your mates or subscribe to the podcast feed in iTunes. Till next time,